me.
What's that?
Hello?
Are you lost? Do you need water?
Chance to see much of Australia while you're here?
You know, man, the reason why I asked that is because I've been very lucky. I first lived in Melbourne for almost a year when I was my early 20s, and then I worked in Sydney for almost a year, about 5 years ago, and now this time I got to go all over. So I've had an amazing time touring everywhere from the way north up above the Great Barrier Reef all the way down through Queensland, through Sydney, through Melbourne, through the Great Ocean Road, which is probably my favorite place. You know, my favorite place is Apollo Bay. I don't know if you know Apollo Bay. I love Apollo Bay.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful stuff. Speaking of beautiful, this movie is tugs at the heartstrings, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, it does. You know, I'm a dog owner, so it got me. It got me from the it got me from the first time I read the script, you know, and then seeing the movie, I was like, oh wow! And being with a bunch of people, I showed it recently to a film festival, and we had a bunch of screenings of it there. And every single time, you know, I'd be dealing with a lot of weepy dog owners afterwards.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know the Pilbara region, Karatha, Dampier. I mean, I don't think a lot of people, even from Australia, know that area out there very well. It's sort of, you know, so off the beaten track and so kind of amazing and inhospitable that you know, it's not a place that people go to very regularly. So the producer and director had sent me some images, some film that they had took before they started shooting that were just mind-blowing and just absolutely some of the most mesmerizing, epic landscapes I've ever seen. I mean, they were like Australia's kind of weird version of Lawrence of Arabia or something, you know? And so I was kind of amazed by that and thought the idea of going there seemed extraordinary. And then I saw this great audition that they did that I think people can see online of Coco the dog. And the dog obviously had this just wild and human-like intelligence and these reactions that seemed like a human. And then I read the script. I read 20 pages of it and was like, put me on an airplane tomorrow, which is kind of what happened. It was sort of last minute.
Yeah, wow. I mean, you've done you know, films that, you know, the whole family can watch, you know, before, like, you know, The Hulk, I guess, and you know, Sweet Home Alabama, but this is a real, you know, family experience movie, isn't it? I mean, is that important to you to do films that, you know, the whole clan can go and see?
I mean, I think sometimes, what you want to do is you want to tell good stories, you know, really is what it comes down to. And in this case, one of the reasons I really like this movie is because, yes, it's a dog story, yes, it's a family movie, but I think a lot of it is that it's a real Australian story, you know. It really captures this land and this place, and it tells it in a way that is accessible. It's accessible for Americans, for, you know, the English people I know who've seen it, but it's also accessible for kids to watch it, and yet you're watching a place that, you know, probably was filled with pretty angry drunks for a period of time.
No one in particular. That is, until he met his true master.
No dogs on the bus.
This dog did do the things that the movie talks about. He did get on that airplane, he did get on that boat, and he did go, you know, supposedly all the way to Japan. So that's kind of rare and amazing, to say the least.
Wow, I mean, it is amazing. Did you spend a lot of time with the dog beforehand?
I did. I mean, I spent as much time as I could with the dog from the day I arrived and tried to basically because a lot of times what happens is, you know, your relationship becomes a trainer doing something where the trainer's in the room and the dog is watching the trainer. So what you try and do is, as quickly as possible, get the dog to be looking at you and relating to you. And I really liked Coco. I had great respect for this dog. He was obviously an incredibly intelligent, soulful dog. And he didn't love acting. That's all there's to it. He was very good at it, but his sense was like, I did this. Why do I need to do it again? And, you know, movies you do the takes over and over and over and over, and Coco wasn't really interested in that. And part of it was because Coco was so kind of deep and like he'd done it right once. Why would he have to do it again? It's your fault. You messed up your lines.
And where's this rank in terms of your favorite movie experiences?
Honestly, it's right up there. Like, my favorite so far has been this and a movie called Glory Road, which is a basketball movie, a true story as well.
Yeah.
I think part of it is because both stories, they're both wonderful entertainment, but they're also based in true stories, that they're also based in stories of people coming together. That's something I really like. I really like the idea that, that you have people that are in pretty serious adversity, like what was the story of Glory Road, or even the story of Red Dog, which is that, these people were in these very difficult, tough environments where the land was very inhospitable and the work was incredibly difficult. I think a lot of Australians can relate to that, who work in the outback, who work throughout, these tougher jobs that way. And yet, like the movie Glory Road, where there was something that brought them together, and in this case, this dog really seemed to bond this community. I mean, every time, even making the movie, there'd be these great moments where some great old, interesting-looking guy would come up to me and go, "Look, man," he'd have a photograph, and the photograph would be Red Dog lying in a bunk, asleep, with a beer in its paw and a cigarette in its mouth. Obviously they'd placed those things there, but they were fantastic. There was a real sense that everyone loved this dog and called him their own.
Wow, and you've moved on to something totally different now. You're doing The Firm, is that right?
I am. The Firm is a big, interesting undertaking. Obviously, to take over for Tom Cruise is a heck of a challenge, but also, the story, the reason why I responded to it so much so is because the writing was as good as anything I've ever read. It's thrilling writing, and hopefully we're going to make a real kick-ass TV series.
So that's why you're in New York, I gather?
I live in New York. Actually,
you live in New York?
I've lived in New York for the last 20 years. It's my home. I love it here. I would be there in Australia with you guys if it wasn't for The Firm. Yeah, The Firm has kind of kept me from being there right now. So, because I would have.
I gathered that.
I would have loved to.
It sounds like a great show, anyway. And Red Dog is a really great movie. I've been recommending to everyone and telling them it's not Turner and Hooch 2.
Well, it's not Turner and Hooch 2, but it's also not Marley and Me. It's not a schlocky movie. I think there's there's a great soul to this movie. It's funny, but there's also great moments of capturing what I think some of the experience was to be out there. I mean, look, it's not a heavy, drama by any means, but you do see some of the beauty of the outback. That's for sure.
You really do, and the beauty of Rachel Taylor too.
Absolutely, I agree. I have mad crush on that girl.
Somebody understands this place. The importance of a generous heart. Somebody like all of us. And that somebody is a dog.